All right, hello and a very warm welcome to today's webinar, the launch of version 34 for Therefore Online. You are muted. This is a webinar, so I cannot see or hear you, but I do want to interact with you. So please use the Q&A function in Zoom to ask any questions that you have. I do keep my eye on the Q&A and I do try to answer all the questions that I receive. And as you might have just heard, I did start recording for this event. I will be recording this and posting the recording on our YouTube channel, which is Therefore TV. So after this event, you can feel free to share this with customers or friends, family, whoever you think is interested in the newest features in Therefore. My name is Jennifer Schmidt, and I am a member of Therefore's digital engagement team. I am responsible for doing many webinars, as well as creating e-learning content, which I love. And I'm extremely excited to talk to you about the great new features coming in the newest version of Therefore. But before I get into the technical features, I do want to mention a little bit about the release cycle. In case this is a new event webinar for you, I do want to give some background on how we do things here at Therefore. So Therefore has two main releases every year. A big main release in the spring, which is for all versions of Therefore, both Therefore Online and Therefore On-premises. And a secondary version release in the fall, which is for Therefore Online only. Here we are talking about fall where we are, and it's the fall, it's November. So the features that we're talking about are going to be for Therefore Online only. There is one big exception this year, and that is the eInvoice connector. It will be available for Therefore on-premises customers as well. Of course, if you have on premises and you want to get the other features, they will be coming the following spring. So just to illustrate how this works, you can see here we have in the fall online only, then we have online and on premise again in the fall, online only, and so forth and so on. And that's how the releases work. So if you do have a Therefore online system, you know that we have data centers all around the world hosted on Microsoft Azure data centers. So the release cycle this time for the updates is going to be starting with Asia, which already happened on October 29th. And today, India will be getting the newest versions, followed by Canada, US, UK, Australia, EU, and finally Japan. So check out status.thereforeonline.com to get the latest updates. You can even register to receive automated email notifications every time that your system gets an update. And of course, I would be amiss to not tell you about the refresher training. This is an e-learning course available totally free of charge on our extranet. Go to extranet.therefore.net. If you have a Canon or a Canon partner email address, you get immediate free access. Go to the e-learning site and then sign up for refresher training for version 34. This is really important to do, especially if you are involved in installing or configuring the new system, because we have videos where I walk you through step by step exactly how to get these features up and running. So without any further delay, let's talk about the new features in version 34. They are the Copilot integration, the eInvoice connector, enhancements to important configurations, Passkeys, web client enhancements, and many more. So the first enhancement that I'm going to be talking about is the new integration with Microsoft Copilot. We are thrilled to announce our first new feature, the integration with Copilot, Microsoft's premier AI assistant. This integration empowers you to extract valuable insights from your data, enabling you to work smarter and more efficiently than ever before. How it works is categories from Therefore are made available to Microsoft Graph. And then Microsoft Graph then uploads their document and the document titles to Copilot. Users can engage with Copilot through a standard interface, whether it's in Teams or Word or the Copilot app. So let's talk about the technical details about the Copilot integration. The initial release of this feature will be in preview mode. In this mode, user permissions and Therefore are not uploaded with the documents. Information from the documents and the categories that are selected in the graph connection will be uploaded to Copilot without a list of access permissions. This means that users with access to this graph connection in Copilot have access to information coming from Therefore, regardless of any permission configured at the category or document level in Therefore. Preview mode will end, and then once the preview mode ends, permissions will be uploaded with the documents and the titles, meaning that when users interact with Copilot, they will only be able to see the documents that they actually have permission to. And it's estimated that preview mode will end sometime between November 2025 and April 2026 with the next upgrade. And an announcement will be made when all Therefore Online systems have been upgraded. So once the preview mode ends, permissions will be uploaded, ensuring that users can only receive answers about documents to which they have the rights to view in Therefore. Talking about the licensing, the feature requires a Therefore connector license from Microsoft Copilot and a Copilot license from Microsoft. Moreover, administrators must add Microsoft Entra ID as an external user directory in Therefore, and this controls the authentication with Copilot. So in practice, what does this mean? What is the benefit of using Copilot with Therefore? Well, one, you have full control over which documents and or categories are uploaded to Graph to make available for use with Copilot. Then you can use Copilot to gain insights, summaries, ideas, generate new text, edit text, whatever it is that you want from those documents, you can use AI to leverage those capabilities. And it works really simply. I have a brief GIF here. So you have a Copilot agent, which is a specialized AI interface, where you have told the AI that you want to prioritize information that is coming from Therefore. And then here we have Microsoft Teams, and we're asking it to summarize problems that have occurred while organizing this conference, the Moyaware Symposium. It looks into the graph connection, sees these documents from Therefore, and then creates a summary. These little points here show exactly where the reference documents are, so you can check to make the sources to make sure it's correct. And then you can ask further questions, clarifying questions. I could ask it to generate social media posts. In this example, I asked it to generate a menu plan based on dietary restrictions that users had. We've also done tests and examples where we're talking about HR scenarios, for example, generating a list of interview questions for potential candidates, asking it to sort and rank candidates based on how well they fit a job description. You can ask it to compare and contrast different contract terms. I mean, the possibilities really are endless, and I see a lot of great potential use cases for this, especially if you're dealing with a lot of text-based documents. But I do want to mention that there is some facts that you have to keep in mind when talking about AI and Copilot. So since we've been discussing the Copilot integration, I've personally received an overwhelming number of questions about its use cases. So on the screen here, you can see two pairs of shoes. This is a comfortable pair of running shoes, and here a nice, elegant pair of black high heels. And they're both shoes that I wear, but I wear them for totally different purposes, right? And this is what I want you to keep in mind, is using Copilot is a great use case for dealing with text-based documents if you want translations, summaries, insights around text. But if you want to gain insights about your work, about documents that are in Therefore, information that is contained within the index data, use the search in Therefore. A lot of people have come up to me and said, oh, great, now with the Copilot integration, can I ask Copilot how many workflows I have overdue or how many invoices are unpaid? And those are both use cases which you can actually use Therefore search. The Therefore search is a feature that's been available for decades now. You don't need Copilot to do that. And in fact, doing a search in Therefore is often going to give you better results, because unfortunately, AI can make mistakes. Whereas if you do a database query, you're going to get the right results in real time every time. And I do have just a bit of a warning here. In general, we do know that AI doesn't do great with numbers. Many of you might recall recently there were problems with like tokenization, where when you asked an AI how many R's are in the word strawberry, it said there's only 2 R's when we know that there's actually 3. And recently I was reminded of some of the issues that we have with AI through my daughter. So I have one of my children is 10 years old, and she had an assignment for her English class here where she had to write a description of a crazy room. And in her crazy room, she wrote, "There are 10 purple pigs," and all this other stuff, a yellow Lamborghini and a swimming pool. And then her assignment was to type it up, this crazy room description, and have AI generate an image of what this crazy room looks like. And this is the image that the AI made based on her description. And you can see she had said that there were 7 purple pigs, but there was only 1, 2, 3, 4 purple pigs. And she got really upset. She was like, "Why are there only 4? I said there should be 7. And I told her, this is because the AI has problems counting. And she was really upset and didn't believe me until, of course, the next day she came home from school and she said all the other kids had the same problem as well. It didn't count the right number of things either. And then we tested it with a more simple example. And we said, "Can you generate a picture showing exactly 3 pencils in a pencil case?" And you can see it made 4 pencils. So there are real issues that the AI currently has. And I love AI, and I am very aware that it's getting better on a daily basis. But this is something to keep in mind when you're prompting and when you're working together, that it, particularly with numbers, it is prone to make mistakes. So I do have a bit of a quiz here. Let's see if I have a poll here. And let's see if we can launch it to see what do you guys think here? If you look on your Zoom screen right now, you should see, should you use AI or search and therefore? So let's see if anyone wants to participate. Should you use the AI or search and therefore to answer these questions? Number 1 is, how many invoices saved to therefore are overdue? Should you search and therefore or do an AI? 2 is, how many workflow tasks are currently in progress? Search and therefore or use AI. Next was, summarize the meeting notes. Should you search and therefore or use AI? What do you guys think? And looks like we're still getting some answers. And I'm gonna close the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's end the poll and share the results. So if you guys see here, how many invoices are saved and therefore are overdue? Again, you should search and therefore for this, because this is really using index data. You really can get the results in real time, completely accurately, by doing a search and therefore. How many workflow tasks are currently in progress? Again, you want to search and therefore. This is something that's found in index data search. In the web client, you can get a little button, and that's a really easy way to get that information in therefore really easily. Summarize the meeting notes. This is a great use case for Copilot. If you have lots of meeting notes that are saved and therefore you want to generate a quick summary of what's been happening over the past few weeks in these meeting notes, use AI. That is going to be the way to do it. So I've shared all the correct answers, guys, and hopefully that gives you some guidance. Also, when you're talking to customers, or if you're thinking about using this for yourself, both AI and searches and therefore have separate and good use cases, but you do need to know when to use them to get the best results. All right. Having said that, I'm going to move on to the next feature, because I know we are we have a lot of new things to talk about, and I don't want to run out of time. So the next feature is the eInvoice connector. And looking at the registration list, I did see that we had some people from Europe on the call too as well. So I will very quickly talk about this. One thing to know, this feature is only going to be launched in the EMEA Europe region, but since we do have people from Europe on this call, I will talk about this very briefly. So the eInvoice connector allows XML data contained within e-invoices to be extracted and saved to therefore. So let's go back and explain what are e-invoices. When you hear the word e-invoice, you might just think, oh, it's an electronic invoice. Anything that's sent by email would be an electronic invoice. But that's sadly not the case. E-invoices are invoices of a particular format and syntax that have embedded XML data. Some of these formats might be a PDF that has the XML embedded within, like a PDF A4, and others, like an X-Rechnung, are pure XML. They are not human readable. The reason why this is important is that there's an EU directive of 16931 that says that from now on, that these e-invoices need to contain this machine readable data in certain formats. And in Germany, since January 1st of this year, it's mandatory for all businesses to accept and process e-invoices. And by 2028, many businesses will have to issue e-invoices as well. So this is a very pressing issue, and it's becoming increasingly important as more and more countries within the EU are starting to make these standards mandatory. But of course, it's not something that's only within the EU. I know that within Asia and beyond, e-invoicing also becoming increasingly important. And the reason for that is just because it is a much more efficient way to do the invoicing, because the invoices are machine readable. So you don't need AI to extract the data. You just need a service that can extract the XML content. So with the therefore e-invoice connector, invoices are uploaded to a web service via a workflow. The XML data is extracted and saved to a category within therefore. You don't need to pre-sort the various subtypes. The service does it all. And the great news is that the service also recognizes that if it's not an invoice, if it's just a regular PDF, it can use another workflow task to move it to a different workflow, and then, for example, use Smart Capture to extract the invoice data. So quick little oversight, you have the invoice saved to the service, the invoice data is extracted and saved to therefore, and then optionally, you can also generate a human readable invoice so that it's easier for people to control afterwards. Because remember, some of these e-invoice formats are just pure XML. The licensing for this feature is also really nice. It's available for therefore online and therefore on premises already in the fall. And one e-invoice license allows an unlimited number of invoices to be processed. There is a flat fee, so you're not paying per invoice. So it's a very price efficient way as well. Therefore manages all the updates and maintains the connector. And so you just have to save the, let's wait for the GIF to restart. But it basically is just a workflow, save the invoices into the category, and then you can see here the workflow goes through and the invoices are processed. And the index data is then saved to this technical category where all kinds of information is extracted. And again, we have this one. This one was a format that has only XML here, and it therefore generated this human readable PDF as well. And then as a third option, you can, yeah, all the index data was extracted as well. And then what happens if a invoice is saved that's not a e-invoice, it gets moved to a different category where it's then processed by Smart Capture. So very quick and easy introduction to the e-invoice connector. If you guys want to see more, I'll be happy to explain more. Let me just check if there's any comments. There is. Yes, so we have one person saying one flat fee will help reduce the cost in comparison to pay per invoice page. Yes, exactly. So this is a really cost-effective way. If you're receiving e-invoices, this is a really, really good option for businesses. Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next feature, which is Passkeys. So Passkeys are a new secure way of logging in. that's faster, easier to use, and more secure than passwords. Passkeys rely on public key cryptology to verify your identity rather than using a username password. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with passkeys. You've probably experienced them yourselves when logging into Google or Apple or Microsoft accounts. You can use the face recognition, you can use biometric data, or your device PIN key. Now, Therefore supports this as well. So when you log into Therefore and it's been configured, your device or web browser will prompt you to unlock your account using your PIN or biometric option. And this is supported in all clients of Therefore, including the installed client, web client, and the Therefore portal. It's super easy to configure. And I do have a brief video showing what the user experience is like once you have configured it. So it says sign in with a passkey. You enter your PIN, in this case, it's the PIN on this device, and it says okay. And then the login screen opens and you can use Therefore as normal. So again, here you sign in, you say login with passkey, and then immediately the device asks you to enter your passkey, however it is that you have configured it. So super fast and easy. Administrators have the choice to use it or not. You can configure passkeys to be mandatory for all users on the system. You can configure passkeys to be an option for all users on the system, or you can also just say passkeys are enabled for just certain users on the system or optional for certain users on the system. So it's a very flexible situation. Administrators can really set up passkeys how they think is best for their environment. And best of all, passkeys is a standard feature. There's no extra charge. So you guys can start using passkeys if you want immediately once your system has been updated. And that brings me now, if I'll just see if there's any more questions, and I don't see any. So now this brings me to updates to our web client. So our web client is our web-based version of Therefore. So rather than installing the software on your computer, you can log in just by typing a URL into a website, basically. And we have been working tirelessly to enhance and improve the web client for several years. And this time around, we have so many new enhancements. I'm not going to get into detail on all of them. I'm just going to highlight the top 3. The number one new feature in the web client is that it's way easier to make eForms anonymous. So eForms are these electronic forms that allow you to create questionnaires and polls in Therefore. And in the past, it was quite cumbersome and time-consuming to make these forms available anonymously, meaning for people who do not have a Therefore account. Now, when you create a new form, you can simply right-click and say share link, and then that link is created and it's anonymous. So this saves so much time and makes it easier. So you can see here, I'm creating a new form right here, event registration. Then I say the form ID, which is also a new feature. And then I'm going to say create. Then I add the things, I say save, and then we'll go back to the eForms header, and here's a new form, and I say create link. It copies that new link, and then I can simply select create anonymous link right there, and then copy and paste it into a new browser or add it to a bookmark, and that eForm can then be accessed by users outside of our company. So it makes it so much faster and easier to use this new feature. I love it. Another new feature that we have in the web client are direct URL actions. So this is a feature which makes it easy to perform or bookmark searches and other frequently accessed tasks in the web client. You can bookmark searches, overdo workflow tasks, user actions through a URL in the web client. And this allows you to create a URL for a direct action in Therefore that can be copied and pasted again and again. So meaning if you're always, for example, looking at a certain search for invoices from a certain customer, for example, or you want to just see which workflow tasks are overdue and assigned to you, you can take a URL and just bookmark it, and then you don't have to go through that search process every single time that you open up the web client. So here, example, we're doing a search for all documents containing the word fab. So we'll do index data search here. And it opens up the hit list. And then I have this URL here that I can copy and paste, open it up into a new tab, and I can bookmark that tab, so it's much easier for me to access that hit list again and again. And of course, every time I access that hit list, it will be updated to show the actual real data on my system in real time. And so this is a great thing to do. Instead of asking Copilot for which workflow tasks are overdue, just make a direct URL using this new feature in the web client, save you time and energy, and get really great results. And there is a full list in our help page talking about all of the actions that you can do, because the list is extensive, and I'm sure many of you are so creative and smart, you're going to find really good uses for this new feature. And finally, one of the other new features that we have in the web client is a better table view. So what you can see here is I have a table. It opens up in a new window. I can mark these items, in the line items in the table. I can edit, move, delete, and add new rows directly from this new window. See, I can drag and drop to change the order. And it makes it much more convenient and easy to work with table line items in the web client. So hopefully another really great enhancement for those of you who have data in a table field like this. Another new enhancement that we have in Therefore is data matching enhancements in Smart Capture. So in Smart Capture is our AI invoice extraction. This is for invoices that are not e-invoices. This is using AI to extract all invoice data. And you can actually set up a supplier match. So you can have a supplier database in Therefore, and when you're extracting the invoice data, you can see if the invoice data corresponds with an existing supplier in your database. Until in the past, it was quite tedious because the way that the data was displayed wasn't that user-friendly. But now we are showing more information in the supplier match. So in this case here, we have the customer name as well as their IBAN, their international bank account number displayed. And this is a really great enhancement. For one, it makes it easier to see if the IBAN on an invoice actually corresponds with the IBAN, the bank number that you have in your database, which is a great security enhancement. And overall, it's something that we really recommend. Now, again, there's no extra charge to setting up supplier database matching. And we hope that this is something that your customers and you will also use. Another enhancement that we have, and this is more of a technical enhancement, is that significant improvements have been made to setting up and importing configurations. So for those of you who are technicians on the field, you know that when you tab one configuration on one system and you move it to another system, there was quite a lot of work in the past to make sure that everything worked, especially if you had REST calls, if you had reference to tables. So we've made a few changes that will hopefully make this easier. One is that the object IDs are now, instead of having it be like a system assigned object ID, like the cat51, you now have the ability when you're creating a new case, a new category, or a workflow, you can give it a human readable name, for example, like invoice category or HR workflow, and that will stay consistent when you're importing it from one system to another. So it's much easier to know what you're working with, right? Another enhancement is that we have a credential store for all the credentials stored in Therefore, which means that you especially when you're doing complicated workflows where you're authenticating against various websites or REST calls. You only have to enter it once rather than re-entering many, many times. And those credential stores are stored in one central place, meaning it's much easier and more efficient to access. This also increases security because every time that the URL changes, you're asked to re-authenticate, ensuring that the credentials cannot accidentally get leaked. And now, last but not least, we also have other enhancements, including better security options when editing Office files in the web client. We have added support for OIDC PKCE, and we have support for short wait time tasks. So if you're configuring a wait task with a very short time, those very short tasks are also supported as well. Any questions? I don't see any right now. So just to wrap things up, again, I just want to remind you, the refresher training is online. It is ready to go. So if you're interested in learning more about these features, or you just want to review what I said, please go through the refresher training. It takes around 30 minutes to complete, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. And as always, if you want to learn more, get in touch with us. Send me an email at media@therefore.net. Sign up for a newsletter, especially because we have more webinars coming. I have a second launch webinar for the EMEA region on November 25th, as well as another webinar this month called Powered by AI. We'll be discussing all of the AI-powered solutions that we have here at Therefore. Again, guys, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to spend it learning about Therefore with me. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and take care. And I will very briefly just stay online in case there's any more questions coming up, but I don't see any. So no questions, I guess, which is great. So in that case, guys, have a great day. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.